Well, good morning. I'm State Senator Jesse Edegin, proud to represent the city of Oakland. I want to welcome everyone to the town, and it's appropriate that we're gathered here in the East Bay, and particularly in West Oakland, which is an AB 617 community, a community that's long been impacted by poor air quality and environmental racism, which is why the state has invested millions of dollars in helping electrify light and heavy-duty vehicles at the port and help electrify the infrastructure at the port so we can improve air quality here in West Oakland. And now with this program, we're going to increase access and equity in the EV market. It's also appropriate that we're here in the East Bay region that has really led the way in the advancement of clean vehicles. In the 2000s, we were the epicenter of the first mass-produced hybrid vehicle, the Toyota Prius, with many of those vehicles manufactured down the freeway in the city of Fremont. Groundbreaking research is also happening not too far from here at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab in advancing electrification, our transition away from fossil fuels. Advancements in clean vehicles have come a long way over the past 25 years. Zero-emission vehicles are no longer tomorrow's technology. They are today's solution. The sales of EVs in California have skyrocketed in recent years, and we're just getting started. But we have taken a step backwards with the loss of federal incentives to help people purchase electric vehicles, which is why this program that's being announced today is so critical. Now, even more Californians will have access to affordable electric vehicles through the first EV program. This will be a game changer, providing thousands of dollars in instant rebates to first-time EV buyers. I want to thank the incredible leadership of Governor Newsom. And while the federal administration may have turned its back on our planet, he has doubled down in his commitment to make California a leader in electrification and addressing climate change. I also want to thank my predecessor, Energy Commissioner Nancy Skinner, the members of the Energy Commission and the administration, including the chair of the Air Resources Board, for their leadership in advancing this exciting program. We just approved this in July, and now the money's getting out the door, and I think that shows the commitment of this administration, particularly in addressing electric vehicle access in California. With this program, we can demonstrate that both environmental stewardship and economic prosperity can happen in California. And while the president can attack science all he wants, that does not change the fundamental truth that we are here to create a better tomorrow and one that's not reliant on fossil fuels. Now pleased to introduce our next speaker, Lauren Ringer, the president of the California Electric Transportation Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Senator. On behalf of the California Electric Transportation Coalition, I'm so excited to be here today. Our members include automakers, electric utilities, and many other companies that are working really hard to make sure that electric vehicles are accessible to all Californians. And that is exactly what this partnership is about. It's about making electric vehicles a practical and affordable choice that's available to more people. The governor and the legislature have demonstrated incredibly strong leadership here. I want to thank them for everything they've done in this industry, setting clear direction and now backing it up with investment. The private sector is matching that commitment. We are investing in vehicles, charging infrastructure, technology, and jobs. And this is exactly how a public-private partnership should work. We bring public and private resources together, making every dollar go further. We are turning ambitious goals into something that consumers can actually use. And for EV drivers, having access to an EV means having more choices. It means lower operating costs of the vehicles and a better driving experience. We have found that when drivers go electric, they don't go back. And that is because of all the many benefits of an electric vehicle. They're quiet, they're responsive, they're easy to maintain, they're increasingly affordable, and they're enjoyable to drive. But people cannot access cars if they're not able to afford them. That's why programs like this are so incredibly important. They help close that gap. They bring the benefits of electric vehicles and clean transportation to more Californians. What we are seeing here today is what happens when government and industry work together, moving in the same direction. Consumers get more choices, good jobs are created, and clean transportation becomes available to more Californians. The California Electric Transportation Coalition and its members could not be more proud to be a part of this important work. Thank you. It is my pleasure to now introduce the chair of the California Air Resources Board, Lauren Sanchez.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Laura. Buenos dias. Good morning. It is a beautiful day in California. Today, California is once again leading with bold, decisive action. I want to begin by thanking Governor Newsom for his leadership and his determination to make sure that California keeps driving forward, stepping up to backfill the loss of the federal EV tax credit. I also want to thank our partners in the legislature whose commitment made this investment possible, and our automaker partners whose dedication to California's clean car future is deeply appreciated. At a moment when decades of clean air progress is facing another wave of attack, California remains undeterred. Around the world, more than 1 in 4 cars sold is now electric. The global transition is accelerating, and California helped make it happen. Now is not the time for us to cede that leadership. That's why I'm so proud to be here today to celebrate the launch of my first EV. Just weeks after the governor signed this legislation, California has delivered a first-in-the-nation program that will help first-time buyers make it even easier to get into their first electric car. Eligible Californians can now walk into participating dealerships and immediately get $3,500 off in instant savings. And a very important part of this program that I'm excited about is the partnership with automakers. Deep partnership that means matching our state investment dollar for dollar. That means $270 million in total savings for Californian families. And the stakes couldn't be higher. Nearly 18 million Californians still breathe unhealthy air, and the transportation sector is the largest driver of that pollution in our state. For millions of Californians, an electric vehicle is more than just new technology. It means cleaner air for their children. It means lower fuel and maintenance costs, saving money each month for the family budget. And it means an opportunity to be a part of California's clean air future. I want to thank the extraordinary Air Resources Board staff whose creativity and relentless work turned this program from an ambitious vision into reality in 25 days. Together, we are proving once again that California leads with purpose, we lead with urgency, and we lead with optimism. We don't wait for the future to be built, we built it here. And with that, before I turn the microphone over to one of the earliest enthusiasts in this technology, I'm very excited to recognize someone behind me, Rahul, whose family always considered buying an electric vehicle, and for whom this rebate program really tipped the scales. He bought his first EV on Tuesday, a Hyundai Ioniq. We're so proud to be delivering this check, Rahul. Congratulations. Come on down.
Keep your heart out of the That's pretty good. Well done.
Thank you so much.
All right, now good luck cashing that.
I'll try my best. Thank you so much.
Do you want to say a few words or no?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please. I'll take this.
Yeah, I just think that the this like $3,500 policy is super helpful, and I think it'll help a lot of people make their decision in getting an EV. And yeah, I'm super excited to see the rollout and see the EVs on the road. Thank you.
Well done. Thanks, Raul. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to be out here. Look, obviously, we're proud of this program for no other reason than we're the tentpole of the EV market in the United States of America. But we're also the tentpole in this global race to dominate the next big thing. China is not screwing around. The United States has become a footnote. China is flooding the zone all across the globe. Supply chains, manufacturing, influence. As the United States, the spirit of what Jesse said was we're doubling down on our low carbon green growth efforts here, where the United States is doubling down on stupid. We're trying in California to maintain our dominance in this space. And dominance it is. The world we invented in so many ways, shapes, or forms. 52 headquartered manufacturing ZEV companies here in the state of California. Our investments in research and development are second to none. We dominate in that space. We dominate in low carbon green growth. In fact, 2/3 of this economy runs on 100% clean energy. 9 out of 10 days so far this year, 100% clean energy for part of the day. The 4th largest economy in the world running its economic energy on 100% clean energy. You may have seen just a few weeks ago that in May, for the first time in human history, a jurisdiction of our size generated enough clean energy just from solar alone. A majority of all our electric energy came from solar alone in May. Never has that been done. We're proving the paradigm. This is not asserting a construct, we're actually proving it at scale. Low carbon, green growth, changing the way we produce and consume energy. Energy policies that are creating jobs, innovation, economic investment at scale and scope and speed that are the envy of every other state in this nation, increasingly all around the globe. But China, they get it, and they're getting it done. This is the next global race. For the United States of America that cares about manufacturing jobs, the industrial economy, that care about blue-collar workers, what the hell is wrong with us? Young people, they bat last. They will determine the fate and future of this market, and they are increasingly picking zero-emission vehicles. 29% of the globe's now cars, 30% already are alternative fuel vehicles. They're better cars. The technology stack is second to none. Yeah, they're cleaner, but they're also more fuel efficient. What more evidence do we need than the dependency on petrostates, which, interestingly, the current occupant in the White House believes that we should replicate. Again, doubling down on stupid, an inferior product, because that's what it is. This is about choice, giving people of our state a choice, but also giving them a head start by giving them this $3,500 incentive for new cars, $1,750 for used cars, for supporting California-based headquartered companies. Thank you to Rivian and Lucid, where no cap in terms of these investments are provided because we want to incentivize. Thank you to Ford for their R&D investments in Skunk Works down in Southern California. That's why I drove in on the Ford, appreciating that they recognize what's at stake. These legacy automobile manufacturers, they may not exist in a decade or two unless they wake up to what's going on globally and where the demand is and where the vehicles are going. I was just in Europe, flooding the zone, China. We were down in Belém in southern South America, flooding the zone with low-cost, high-quality vehicles, 5-minute chargers. So, we're past the debate, and we're just trying to hold this together because we've got an invasive species in the spirit of the conversation in Donald Trump in the White House. The good news, he's lame duck. The good news, he's temporary. The good news is California's policies will continue well past his tenure, as they have since the 1960s. I'll remind you, the modern environmental movement started here. The guy named Ronald Reagan is looking quite literally down on Donald Trump in the Oval Office. Look at the big portrait right above the Resolute desk. Ronald Reagan looking down on Donald Trump, who started, in many ways, these programs by regulating tailpipe emissions, regulating what was coming out of the exhaust to address the issue of air pollution in California in 1967. 1970s, another Republican, Richard Nixon, Clean Air Act, Endangered Species Act, creation of the EPA, a Republican president. The hell's happened to us? So this is about economic growth, it's about economic competition, it's about national security, it's about investing in our future, and it's about continuing to maintain our lead. The world we invented, we recognize is now competing against us, and we don't want to cede that. You want to be big, you got to be big in big things. This is a big space. And in that space is also a story that unfolds that continues to, I think, impress. And that is the fact that we just announced 21,000 gigawatts, 21,000 megawatts, 21 gigawatts of battery storage, utility scale battery storage. When I started, it was 770 in 2019. I remember that number vividly because we made a commitment on our efforts to not just double down, but to lead in this space. What has that done? Now we are the second largest installed utility scale battery storage in the world, China and California. But it's allowed us not to have a flex alert in 4 years. You remember the days in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2020, 2022. I think we had 11 flex alerts, not one in the last 4 years. We're on the other side of this. That's what battery storage has done. And we're just getting started. You may have seen through our fast track proposal, scale, scope, and speed. Update your talking points as it relates to California can't build. Update them. Scale, scope, and speed. The new process that we established a few years ago, guaranteeing a 270-day judicial review, a proof point of that progress is being advanced as an example in Fresno as we speak. 1,300 workers. The Darden facility, the largest in the world, 3 million solar panels. The largest utility scale battery storage facility in the world. 1,300 workers working today on that $5.5 billion project with steel that was manufactured in Fontana, California, and the batteries coming from Tesla facility in Lathrop, California. That's because of California's regulations, California's policy. That's the kind of innovation that we're promoting. So the grid is more stable. We're investing in our lead. Investment is coming in record numbers. And we are running in a completely different direction than the federal government. The United States of America, sadly, has become a footnote on this debate all across the globe. California is not. We're leaning into it and continuing to maintain that leadership. So forgive the long-windedness. It's just a point of pride as a guy who, 2006-07 was a mayor across the bay here with my old Saturn EV1. I've long believed in this vision, and to see it now materialize, 216,000 now public charging stations in California. That's just public. 120,000 gas nozzles. I'll repeat that. There's only 120,000 gas nozzles. There's already 216,000 public charging places. We're on the other side of this debate. We're in the how business. This is about the great implementation. Alternative energy is fossil fuels. An inferior product. And that's why they're so desperate, big oil, the polluted heart of the climate crisis. They're so desperate to hold on to what they've got. And they got a bird in the hand by the name of Donald Trump. And they're squeezing him for everything they got. But we're not going to cede the future, and we're not going to sacrifice our children to those policies. And so that's what today represents. And again, gratitude to CC and David, to Lauren, the CARB team, to all of those in the legislature, Jesse as a leader in this space, Senate, that made this possible and continue to promote hope and optimism, daylight over darkness, and fresh air of progress over the stale air of normalcy. With that, we're happy to answer any questions. I'm sorry. Well, we just finished the process that unfolded over the course of the last 4 or 5 years just to extend its life. That will be the baton that I will pass on to the next administration. So that will be the determination of the next administration. But as it relates to the work we've done to keep that 9% base load operational, 100% clean, Diablo, it's advanced our efforts. It's allowed us the stabilization that we needed to work through over the course of the last few years to get us to the other side on a lot of these issues. That will be a determination made by policymakers that will be here a lot longer than I will. I got a sell-by date in 5 months and look forward to the deliberative process by the experts behind me in making that determination. Well, it's interesting. You know, we have about 106 gigawatts of installed electricity capacity, starting just here in San Francisco in 1874. Total installation. Over 32 gigawatts have been installed in the last 8 years. Just think about that. Just the last 8 years, 106 gigawatts, 32 have been installed. Substantial amount of what we're promoting today in terms of the battery storage. I mentioned the number of electric vehicles, and I haven't mentioned numerically the percentage, 19.1% Q2 in California, 29% globally, obviously been impacted by the cuts of the federal program. But I didn't mention the numeric of $6 billion we've invested in EV infrastructure. I did not mention the 2.5 million cumulative electric vehicles that we've sold, exceeding our audacious goals. And by the way, in every category, every single category in terms, to your question, of our California environmental goal setting, we have excelled and exceeded the goal in every single category, including the numeric on public charging. Now, we have a lot more work to do. And by the way, David could talk extensively about this. Those 216,000 public chargers is a drop in the bucket compared to the totality of private and total charging points all across the state. So it would be a combination of both and. It just won't be the state itself making those investments. The private sector, the OEMs, our auto partners. And by the way, 13 of you, thank you for being part of this one-to-one match, doubling down on support for Raul and others in terms of this effort. But there will be a huge part of that as well. For this reason, the state of California we didn't build all the gas stations. The private sector did. Automobile companies and partnerships. So that's what we need to see shape. We're just jump-starting this, but it's ultimately not the state's job to build out that infrastructure, to create the conditions and the stability and the regulatory environment where we can make those investments flourish and thrive. Well, it's a process that's unfolding. And again, it's over the next decade, there'll be a lot of fits and starts. And I imagine a lot more people are interested in this space than they were a year ago before Donald Trump decided to, well, further wreck the economy. By the way, you saw the numbers came out today. That's backed up, that statement of what he's done. Not just on tariffs, mass deportations, but this war and the impact that's had, not just on the economy, the impact that's had on your pocketbook and the cost of gasoline in particular at the pump. So more and more people, I imagine, you even polled them today, may have a very different opinion than they did even a few months ago, certainly 6 months ago before the beginning of the war. But we just want to continue to maintain a regulatory environment that encourages investment. Tesla would not exist without California's regulatory environment, period, full stop. One company would not exist, certainly as we know it. It was because of the certainty of a regulatory environment that created the incentives for investors, eventually Elon, who picked up on the original investment, and he accelerated that. And so we want to continue to see that acceleration. And to the extent that the federal government's working to vandalize that mandate, which they are, that will play out in the courts, and we'll see where that process unfolds as it relates to California's authority. And as it relates to the next administration, they'll make that determination in response directly to your question of the appropriateness of moving to accelerate this transition. But I think it's good public policy, and I'm very proud of the work California's done in the absence of national leadership. And if it's not us, I don't know who the hell else it will be in the United States of America. And so to the extent that we can influence or have influenced what we've done in the last few years, I'm proud of it. That's a question that's we're processing in real time. It's a question we processed with AB 1054 8 years ago. It's a process that's unfolding. I think you've had 5 hearings, Jesse, Senator, the last few weeks. This relates to some ideas and proposals that came out of a study that the California Earthquake Authority initiated, which we initiated with the legislature, but they advanced. Status quo doesn't work. It's not good for victims and timely payments. Insurance industry is being squeezed. By the way, climate risk is financial risk. You cannot insure an environment of such extremes. Another reason we're investing in low carbon green growth and electric vehicles. But we've got to work all that out. I'm done with CEOs of utilities getting bonuses when they're found liable and culpable for major fires. I think shareholders should have some skin in the game to force CEOs and executives to make the kind of investments that they need well beyond 1054, of which we statutorily require investments for undergrounding and other safety measures. The costs are being absorbed and socialized to a degree that it compelled us and Lauren and her team to work with the legislature on a $60 billion, just shy of $60 billion rebate through 2045 in our Cap and Invest program for utilities to offset the burden. But it shouldn't be the burden of the Cap and Invest framework to make that subsidy. We need to lower those costs and stabilize the cost increases. And so that's all in the stew here. And look, I have a lot of experience in this because when I got here 8 years ago, I inherited the largest utility in the world, at least the United States, inherited their bankruptcy. And we had to claw our way out. And people called it a bailout, they called it this, that. We worked through all that. And we found consensus. We worked through the criticism, the critique, and the noise. And we landed in a way that tried to balance all of that. And that's the process that you'll see unfold in the next few months legislatively. Same process. Look, this is, I feel like if you were here 8 years ago, you'd ask me the same question as it relates to the process that was unfolding with 1054. We listen to, we're listening, victims are front and center in this. I mean, that's, boy, you talk about something that became indelible when I got into office. There's a deep understanding of that dynamic. But things have to fundamentally change. Scott, we stabilized the market, we created that fund, we kept these utilities whole. You know, the impacts of that would have been calamitous economically. And we'll just have to work through all that. And so this came out of this study. It's a proposal. It's going to come through a process and look very different than it does today. But victims are front and center in our minds, making sure they're made whole, making sure insurance companies pay them in a timely manner, and making sure utilities are held to the highest standards and responsibility, fiduciary beyond that. Again, compensation needs to be tied to safety. They need to perform as it relates to the kind of capital investments that need to be made. Shareholders need to have a stake in all of this, or some skin in the game, not just consumers. And we're trying to balance all of those needs in a very familiar process that will unfold over the course of the next few months. And I don't want to prejudice that process at this stage, except to say we're listening absolutely to those voices. And forgive me, they're the ones who inspired this in the first place. Came out of the LA fires. That's when we initiated this process, created the legislation, 254, to compel the study that we're now working off of and putting out a proposal that everybody will have a chance to dialogue around and amend and consider. The question you'd be asking me, with all the refineries closing, what are you doing to save the refineries? So, look, there's a dark shadow of Lauren standing behind me, who's desperate to come up here because she's the one who just advanced the framework and is the most powerful regulator in the United States of America. Lauren Sanchez, look her up. EPA certainly isn't. They've completely sold out. So CARB's the only game left in town. And so we went through a process working with the legislature on the cap now and invest, no longer cap and trade, extended it to 2045. We're working through the greenhouse gas emission contributions, $35 billion plus over the course of this program, billions more in the queue. Proud of that. It was never established for revenue. It was established to create a market, tradable market, to lower emissions. I think we've kind of lost sight of what it was originally conceived to do. And so it's about stabilizing it so it lives longer. It's the old adage. Someone said to me, you want to eat more. They said you should eat less so you can live longer. And I think the same would be true of the cap and invest program, that we had to right size it, figure out how to make this work. That's why the rebates were important to me. We didn't have to do that. We could have redirected $56 to $58 billion, not to consumers. We could have done it to these other programs. We chose to address the issue of cost as a priority in the cap and invest program. And so we started to make those kind of adjustments. And those adjustments obviously were advanced and codified by their resources board. But as it relates to the conversation with the legislature now, might as well have my expert. Well, where'd you go? Where's Lauren? Oh, you can't get off the hook. Talk more about where they are in terms of that.
Thank you, Governor, and you nailed several points on the head. I'd say a few things. The Cap and Invest program is the signature climate policy of California. The governor talked earlier about meeting goals ahead of schedule. California met its 2020 climate target 6 years ahead of schedule, in large part to Cap and Invest. 3 different legislatures have endorsed this program. 3 different bipartisan governors have supported this program. And when the program was being reauthorized last year in the legislature, the governor and the legislature gave the Air Resources Board direct direction to prioritize affordability. And that's what the board did earlier this year when they approved the amendments in May. 3 points. As the governor mentioned, this was always a declining source of revenue. No GGRF means no pollution. That's the goal for California, no pollution for our communities. Secondly, the governor highlighted nearly $60 billion in rebates to lower electricity bill costs. We heard directly from stakeholders how important electricity bills and those costs going up are. So we want to make sure the program protected ratepayers. And yes, we gave more allowances to the industrial facilities in California. California is the #1 industrial manufacturing state in the country. Not something you think of for California. We have cement plants, food processors, yes, refineries. We want to make sure that as we are moving to a carbon neutral future, we keep those facilities and make them as clean as possible for our communities. So we keep workers, we keep local revenue, we keep fuel and gasoline stabilized in California. So I am incredibly proud of the board who deliberated those amendments for 10 hours, speaking of public policy and process, 2 years of process that played out at the Air Resources Board. So now we are working on moving those amendments and finalizing them into law. It's incredibly important. I've heard Cap and Invest was weakened by those amendments. That's not true. We removed 118 million allowances out of the program, making it more stringent. For those of you that report on what's happening around the world, look at what the European Union did to its market. Their carbon market is the oldest in the world, and they made several modifications that mirrored California's in terms of additional support for consumers and for businesses, recognizing the economic times, the tariffs, the disruption that our businesses are facing. Now we look forward to the legislature deliberating on how to spend the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. As the governor highlighted, that's been used to fund over $35 billion, housing, transit, clean water, and we have full faith in the legislature to be able to identify sustainable funding. Thank you.
One other question? I've never gotten that question directly. Set a data rate. Yeah, electricity rate for our data center. Forgive me, rate. I need to process that further. But look, California's not immune to these debates. California has been a leader as it relates to data centers, but we have different latency issues as it relates to the data centers. So you don't have the hyperscalers that you're seeing in some other parts of the country. I was just with a legislative leader on a Zoom call in Virginia yesterday. 25% of that state's electricity consumption is data centers. They just ran roughshod over that state. We haven't had that kind of investment with hyperscalers, but we have a number of projects that are obviously generating a lot of headlines and controversy and concern. It relates to not just electrical consumption, but obviously water consumption as well. We believe that all of these investments, the cost should be borne by the companies. It shouldn't be put on and socialized on the backs of ratepayers. They've got to invest in the infrastructure. They have to address those anxieties around increased costs. And that should be the role of local government. And to the extent the state can influence that, that's table stakes. I'm shocked by the level of investment that was made where they basically sold out their communities at scale over the course of a decade. Even the governor of Texas is waking up to this and goes, well, hold on. I'm like, well, look in the mirror. You were out there chasing these things. So I know the deliberation in Imperial County, we're having with your colleagues a number of bills that are pending legislatively. That's my broad strokes on this, but the extent that there's a numeric as it relates to rates, I need to press that pros and cons on that a little further. I haven't had a chance to think along those lines. Anybody else? Oh, he got it, yeah. Just happened. You like it?
It's amazing, yeah.
You good? What are you going to do with the $3,500, man? What are you doing with the money? We'll find out. All right. By the way, what I love about this program, it comes at the point of sale. So that's another big deal. Just on that, good way to close. Thank you for getting on message. This program just started for a number of our partners. It will roll out between now and the fall and start to scale. So it's not available universally yet, but process is taking shape. And as was noted, 25 days. That's not bad. In government speak, that's off the charts mad, the extraordinary. Well, I don't know, I'm going to end on that. Thank you guys very much.